Hello and welcome to another episode of The Diplomats with Woody and Eric. And welcome to our little sideline selection of videos where we are taking a look at the finalists' journey to the Nexus Season 7 finals by having a look at their semi-finals. And today we are looking at this handsome chap, Karthik's advance to the Season 7 final. There he is, looking rather handsome. We were actually going to use a different picture for Karthik, this one, but the flying boat, as he is known. But I think he probably looks a bit more handsome in Lady Razor's artwork than this one.
Lady Razor did him a solid. He needs to take that image and that needs to go up on his Tinder account, because that's as good as he's ever going to look. Man, I'll never look that good. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. I'm so jealous. No, Lady Razor did him a solid. That's
I can't see it, Eric. I can't see it. It seems rather popcorn kettle black. But oh my! Look, I've even got the light bouncing off my head. That's how little hair I have.
If you look closer, I actually have hair there. It just looks pathetic and sad, so I get rid of it.
Oh, Karthik, this is all just jealousy. But yes, let's just have a quick look before we look at the
four
semis.
or five reasons I had to be jealous of Karthik.
This is the Flying Boat's first appearance in a Nexus press final, but his Nexus Hall of Fame entry does boast a top 7 at Speedboat. Karthik didn't have it all his own way in the preliminary rounds, having to grind out 2 third-place results in order to advance into semi-final B. This is the web dip game, game 2, which resulted in a 7-center Italy, as you can see here, whilst game 26 saw some impressive Janissary play that was rewarded with an 8-dot finish as Turkey. I should say, full disclosure in here, I remember this game well because I was Austria in this game. And
being Austria in this game, that makes perfect sense, Chris. You should this is horrible Care Bear play, and you should be embarrassed.
You played in a tournament format, right?
Well, we will talk about that. We will talk about that.
2 shared board tops and then nothing in the semi-finals, as we saw in our last of these particular videos. But yeah, Karthik did really well here. He was not looking in a great position as Turkey, and we agreed if he janissaried for the AR, we would allow him on 2, which then became 4. And then he was obviously looking at what result he needed to get into the semi-finals, and asked, can I have a couple more? I think 6 will be enough to see me through. And that became 8 as well. And he was just, very gently yet persistently asking to sort of better his score. So great diplomatic play by him.
This reflects a very good skill of a seasoned diplomacy player. This play here reflects on Karthik a skill which I do not have, which is, if you cannot be a standalone power who's competitive for at least control of their portion of the board, your other alternative is to be useful to somebody who is. I'm horrible at this. No one ever.
Why?
I'm pretty sure that my therapist could tell you why I suck at this. But Karthik does it very, very well. Karthik is here on the finals board because he made himself useful to you. That's commendable play. That shows a depth of philosophy which far surpasses my own. because my philosophy is win if you can, draw if you must, and if all else fails, screw the guy who screwed you. This shows a depth of play that I can't rival. It's diplomatically superior, and he's to be admired for it.
He has in a not dissimilar scenario, Janisaried in a game with me before in virtual face-to-face. However, this was all anonymous, so we didn't know who we were negotiating with. So I didn't know he was him, and he didn't know I was me. So
in standalone games, the motivation to play the way Turkey played on this map is greatly reduced. Unless you know that you're going to be in a final draw because it's a DS, draw includes all survivors type game, the motivation for a Turkey to be willing to do this is very low. However, when you're playing in a tournament structure and every little point counts, this type of play here is the epitome of survive to fight another day. And he did it great.
Absolutely. And was rewarded thusly. Right, so that takes us on nicely. I think that's how Karthik got to the semi-final, and he played in semi-final B, which we'll go and have a look at now. And why don't you've had a good look at this? I think since I certainly had a look at this game, which is quite a while ago. Why don't you sort of talk us through, and I'll try and keep up with the pages.
Well,
we should say who's in the game. I will just quickly go through those. So yeah, Karthik, the flying boat, he was in Italy in this game, and other players on the board were Denis Peskov, or diplomacy linguist / friendship as Austria, Grayke in England, Andrei Gribakov in France. I apologize for butchering this name if it's stylistically done for an acronym or something, but 90 KICVESB in Germany, Poser Tom as Russia, and our guest recently on this show, Riaz Varani in Turkey. So what jumps out at you from the 1901?
The year 1901 reveals a lot. Spring doesn't reveal that much. Turkey's Open is textbook. Russia's Open is textbook. Austria's Open is textbook. Italy is Venice to Trieste textbook or not textbook? When you're playing on
Nexus, it's been very popular in virtual over the past year and a half, probably. Normally, that's indication of like a fast Lepanto, or even Naples going into to the Aegean. But you know, an army in Trieste can actually go the other way and wreak havoc for Austria as well, if it so wishes.
Yeah. So I would say in the current meta, Venice to Trieste is not unusual at all. Okay. Germany and England's Open are equally very standard. France, Force and Burgundy is a little bit more aggressive than a bounce. It reflects the strength early on of EF, I think. Or just hostility to Germany, or maybe he was worried about Italy and wanted to make sure Marseille would be free to move down to Spain. You know, we lack that insight. France didn't do an AAR in the Discord. The two who matter most for this game that did do AARs are Turkey and Italy. They are works of art. Karthik and Riaz both deserve Pulitzers for their AARs from this game. And I think they're fairly accurate. Yeah, everyone knows my opinion of after action reports. After action reports are like what a dog does when it takes a dump in your yard, then turns around and smells its own poop. Did I do that? Yes, you did. You did that. But with that opinion of AARs notwithstanding, I think that Karthik and Riaz both did excellent AARs for this game. Excellent AARs. And reading into it helps you understand exactly what went on in this game and why. And before we go into the moves, I'm going to take a couple minutes, okay? If you follow my advice and you go into the Discord and you read the AARs from this game, you will see the fact that Riaz Varani, who's playing Turkey, felt the need to address the fact that somebody in this game claimed that Italy and Turkey had an unnatural alliance with each other that transcended the game dynamic, and that the source of their alliance out the gate was because they shared something in culture. Okay, and
somebody in the game.
In the game, and that was used publicly. That was used publicly. It was used in conversations with other players as a diplomatic instrument. Okay. And I just want to say, I have been guilty in my past of thinking that my knowledge of a person's culture was so flawless and knowledgeable and educated that I had the right to introduce my knowledge and use it for diplomatic purposes in a game. I offended somebody very badly. The hobby, in its wisdom and compassion and sense of inclusion, has punished me for my actions that day in that game for years. For years. And they weren't wrong to do it. Hello, Chicago. Hello. Okay. They were right to do it. They were right to hold it against me. They continue to hold it against me, and they're still not wrong. This is a game, people. This isn't the Cold War. It's not the Holy War. It's a game. We're all here to have fun. Are there cultures involved in this game? Are there people playing this game that have cultures that aren't out of Middle America? Yes, they do. And it makes this hobby better, not worse. And my trying to use someone's culture against them for diplomatic purposes in a game is the worst thing I have ever done in this hobby. And I haven't gotten permission to talk about that person, so I'm not going to say their name. I hope they'll accept my apology now. Okay. And I'm not going to say anybody's name here because I don't want to put a black mark on anybody. But if you're the guy who used culture as a diplomatic weapon in this game, you're wrong. You're very, very wrong. First off, Karthik and Riaz are some of the best players in the game. And they have a body of work that will compare up against anybody's. And that body of work includes game after game after game where they compete with each other in a very, very serious way. These are both very serious players. Okay. Second, they are both culturally descended from the Indian subcontinent. I don't know either of them well enough to know how much of it they have in common, but I will say this. The Indian subcontinent is the most culturally diverse place on this entire planet. And the proven ability of those people to live in those tight spaces together and to not tear each other apart is a testament to some of the things culturally that they do right that some of us here in the West do not. And they deserve to be admired for it. And I just can't imagine raising that kind of accusation against somebody from India. I can't, and I never will. They're some of my favorite people, and having been over there, worked over there, I don't like the heat. I don't like the crowds. I don't like the economics. I don't like the politics. But one thing I love is the people. They are some of my favorite people on the planet. Those people include Riaz and Karthik. And there is absolutely no chance that they would gang up on other people on a board because they share a culture with each other that their target does not. There is absolutely no chance that happened. So if you're the person who did that, let me tell you something. I got personal advice for you. Don't ever do it again. This hobby won't forgive you for it. This hobby shouldn't forgive you for it. And the hobby is better off because of the hard position and hard stance that they take on behavior like that. So that's my public service announcement for the day. All right. Let's get back to moves.
Well, I recall reading, I think it was a comment from Riaz that made reference to that. And I remember now that you saying you were going to address it in this video. And I forgot that. So I wasn't expecting, or I'd forgotten to expect what you've just said there. And
I spoke longer about it than I planned. I wanted it to be a 1 or 2 minute thing, but as I talked about it, the more I realized it was important. Okay. And the reason it's important is I don't want any other diplomacy player to make the mistake that I made, because I was wrong.
Well, I think that's very big of you to have sort of have held your hand up for what you've done in the past, and I hope whoever it was that made this comment or these comments this time around take stock, as you say. We went all serious there for a few minutes, so let's get back down to the fun. Right, yes. Where were we?
Well, we were getting ready to go into follow one. Yeah, follow one. Let's take a look at follow one. Everything here except for Italy and Turkey continues to look very, very standard. England made the calculation that Germany had to cover Munich. All right. Hey, Ed Sullivan, look at Germany. He covered Munich. Pay attention. And if you know that Germany's going to cover Munich, obviously England's going to combo into Belgium. Everybody else's moves are very, very standard. I don't blame France for trying to steal Munich. Maybe he thought he was playing against Ed. So, but Italy and Turkey's moves here show a remarkable level of coordination and forward looking. I made an inset. Do you have that inset frame handy?
Yep. I shall flip across to that.
All right, here we are. This is fall 1901. I zoomed in on this so you wouldn't be distracted by the rest of the map. These are not standard moves. These are advanced moves. Turkey shows wisdom by getting an army into Greece, because an army in Greece can help him crack Serbia. All right, which is something that Turkey is going to need to get out of the box. Italy shows wisdom by he has already picked his target. He's going to cripple that target. He's going to make that target a stillbirth, and he does so. He doesn't worry about Tunis. He knows he'll get Tunis later. Okay? So with everyone else doing their standard moves, sleepwalking through the board like a zombie, picking up their neutral dots, Italy and Turkey are busy setting the stage for how the rest of this game is going to go. All right? While everyone else on this board was playing checkers, Karthik and Riaz were playing chess. So the winter builds, which I also drew a slide for, show the level of the IT at this point. Turkey doesn't build a fleet at all. Not at all. By building the army in Smyrna, not Ankara, he makes it very clear, I'm going to Armenia. Russia, try and stop me. I dare you. Italy builds fleet Rome and army Venice. First off, he doesn't do what a lot of Italy's do after they get two builds in 1901, which is build two fleets, whether that's for going after France or for going after Turkey. Karthik built Army Venice, which is pretty much telling Austria, yeah, I'm coming for you. Do the best you can. I don't think you're going to have very good chances. All right.
Whereas, Fleet Rome, I suppose there's a chance that it could make France nervous, but this is really a love letter to
they're
Turkey.
29 times out of 30, that fleet in Rome is going to go down and get Tunis. All right. If Rome doesn't go get Tunis in this situation, it's because A, France is coming at him so aggressively, he's got to use that unit to bounce him out of West instead. Or Gulf of Leon.
I suppose Ionian could go and get Tunis, but it's more likely to go either support or Greece or go into the Adriatic here, right?
This is an IT. This is an IT, so that fleet's either going to Adriatic or going to Albania. The fact that this is an IT, the fact that this is an IT is why Italy built Fleet Rome, not Fleet Naples. All right. It's a little bit slower, but it solidifies that IT. Now, Turkey doesn't have to worry about Ionian to East Med or Ionian to Aegean and Naples to Ionian. This is a love note to Turkey, to which I'm sure Turkey said thank you. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the main game map.
So I should probably say at this point, from what I recall from the AARs, that Austria initially tried to stir up everybody, get Italy, and no one was playing ball with that, and so then tried to say, okay, I'll be your friend then, or something like that. So we'll see how this transpires.
You see this all the time. You see Austria. Hey, everyone, you got to stop Italy. You got to stop Italy. No one's going to stop Italy. Well, fine. I'll be Italy's puppets. Screw you guys. Spite is a powerful motivator in this hobby, as we all know.
2 fleets from Russia.
Yeah, that fleet in Sev, that's pretty bold. That's pretty bold. What's even more bold is building a fleet in Sev and then not doing a supported attack on Black Sea.
Yeah.
That's a wasted build. That's a wasted build. Now Ukraine has got to support Sev, and most times in this situation, if Austria and Russia aren't able to coordinate with each other in most games in this situation, Ukraine's got to protect Sev, which means that Russia is now losing Romania. So all you never build a second fleet. You build a first fleet because you gave up Romania. If you wanted to get any use out of that fleet at all, you knew Smyrna was coming to Armenia. You knew that Sev was never going to be useful support ever again because it was going to get cut the rest of the game. The only reason that Russia should have built Sev in this position is because he intended to do Sev support rum to black. Otherwise, that build in Sev serves, I don't want to say no purpose because, I'm the kinder, gentler, more generous Eric. I'm sure there was a purpose. I'm just sure that I'm not good enough to see it. Okay.
Is there any benefit from doing that the other way around? Rum support Sev to black, or is that just objectively inferior?
You got to remember, we're in spring 2002. Fall 1901, Bulgaria just supported Apulia to Greece. So the likelihood of Austria and Turkey cooperating against you is very, very low. Okay. Not only did Turkey just support Italy into Greece, Austria got no builds, and he's at 3. So I think the likelihood that Austria is going to cooperate with Turkey is very, very low.
Yeah, sure.
I think the likelihood that Austria will use one of his 3 precious units to screw me, who hasn't done a thing wrong to him, is also very, very, very low. I'm not entirely correct here. Austria did send Vienna to Galicia, and that might be a byproduct of what you were talking about from the AAR, which is, hey, I wanted everyone to work with me against Italy, and no one would, so I decided I'd help Italy. That's the only reason the Vienna to Galicia makes sense. But we're not talking about Austria yet. We're talking about what should Russia have done. Okay. And I would have done rum to black, Sev support, rum to black, Ukraine to Romania.
Because then you don't have to worry about Sevastopol.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about Sevastopol. You know the Smyrna's coming to Armenia. And you know that if you don't get that fleet out of Black Sea now, you're going to be hobbled the rest of the game. Russia's failure to do rum to black here, A, shows a lack of concern for his future prospects, and B, leads to what forces Riaz to make the decision to become an Italian puppet later. Okay, I guess Janissary sounds better than puppet, so we'll say Janissary. But
yeah, state.
The Russian moves here were suboptimal. He definitely should have done Sev supports rum to black, Ukraine to rum, because you know as Russia that there is an IT. You know that Austria is crippled and is going to be very minimal help to you. Russia made a set of moves here that gave away his only opportunity in this entire game to secure his southern flank. And the rest of his game is going to be a never-ending, unstoppable string of northern progression. He's going to lose Rum. He's going to lose Sev. He's going to lose Ukraine. The only question is, which will he lose first, Warsaw or Moscow? Russia threw away his game with these moves.
Yeah, it doesn't look he's going to have much joy in the north either, by the looks of it. So this was his shot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the West is the West. We'll get there. This is a very, very short game. This game is effectively over in 1904. We'll get to that. Let's go ahead and move through. What's fall 1902?
Well, the attack on Romania from Italy instead of Sev. Yeah, because Ukraine had a choice. Ukraine guessed wrong.
No. Ukraine didn't guess wrong. Ukraine did the exact right thing. Okay. You can't give up Sev. All right. Giving up Sev is never good. All right. If you're giving up Sev, you're already accepting a subsidiary role to somebody. Okay. Giving up Sev.
As it happens, it wouldn't have done anything because Serbia. Yeah, Serbia's lent support to Bulgaria to Rum anyway.
But imagine that weren't the case. Imagine Ukraine had been able to support Romania and keep Romania, but the cost would have been an army into Sevastopol.
Yeah, not ideal.
Count that fleet Romania's lifespan in seconds. Now Turkey, all on his own, without help from Italy or Austria or anybody, has three units on Romania. Don't laugh at me. 3 units on Romania, okay? And so he was going to lose Romania anyway. So no, you're wrong. This wasn't a guess. This wasn't a gamble. This was the only move available to him. It's only the only one available to him because he didn't do the right thing in spring 2002, okay? But at this point in the game, it was definitely the right move to make. Likewise, retreating to Baltic Sea was the right retreat to make.
Instead of having fleet supremacy down there, now you're soon going to have no fleets and no way of ever getting another fleet back in the south.
That's why you do Sev supports rum to black, Ukraine to rum. Okay. The other thing that's going on here is France has made his decision. He moved to Irish, trying to convoy to Wales. Italy, as predicted, set that fleet Rome down to Tunis. Austria had the opportunity when he got dislodged from Albania to move to Adriatic. He chose instead to disband that fleet. That, you already talked. He'd already made the decision to pup it up to Italy, and that explains it. Okay.
Yeah, because look at this. Vienna's gone off to Bohemia, and Bud's still bouncing. Oh, well, he's still bouncing out this time.
But if Albania had retreated to Adriatic, then Adriatic could have moved to Venice, and Vienna could have supported Budapest to Trieste, or vice versa. That's guaranteed. He'd be one dot better off at the end of this year than he ended up being by retreating that fleet off the board. But I also have been in games where I look at my future prospects and all I want to do is get out of the game as quickly as possible so that I can move on to a game that doesn't suck. And for diplomacy linguists, this game sucked. And I don't blame Dennis for wanting out of it at all. So, but yeah, so I think that's everything there. Albania, since Austria retreated off the board, Albania is free to go back to Ionian Sea. So now Karthik has the option of going after France full bore or betraying that IT a little bit, putting a little bit of pressure on Turkey. Italy has a build. Turkey has a build. Ordinarily here, Turkey should definitely build a fleet. Because of this alliance structure, in one season, we're going to see Turkey build another army. And Italy's definitely going to build Army Venice. France is going after England. Germany just picked up Sweden. Russia retreated the Baltic. That's going to force Germany to build a fleet in Berlin, and Holland will cover Kiel. That's my prediction. Let's see. Oh, I got that wrong. Okay. All right. He built the fleet in Kiel. So now because, and that was smart if he anticipated that Russia was going to disband Baltic, because now Kiel is free to go into the Atlantic. Because if he doesn't get into the Atlantic very quickly, he's not going to be able to rival France for any of those dots. Okay.
They're racing to. I mean, they're allied, but it's also they're in competition for limited resources.
Italy built the Army Venice. I counted doubts wrong. He had a second build because he picked up Serbia and Naples. So he got a second build, and with that second build, he built the right thing. He built the fleet in Naples, but he did build the Army Venice. Turkey is still playing that IT, trying to sell his harmlessness to Italy. Didn't build a fleet. That was vulnerable here. Much better for Riaz than it did for me in my game with you. And the reason for that is he was playing with an Italy who knew what he was doing. So, so everything else here is pretty standard. Austria is going to disappear quickly. England's going to disappear quickly. Russia's going to disappear less quickly. So this board is quickly shaping up, or should be shaping up, to be FG versus IT. And the prospect of one of those two teams betraying each other is the only thing that keeps this board looking interesting. So let's move on.
A lot of movement here.
Well, we just talked about the possibility for betrayal, and France betrayed Germany while Germany played the alliance, and Italy betrayed Turkey while Turkey played the alliance. Poor Riaz, you got a 7-setter Italy, and Austria and Russia both decided they wanted to gang up on the 5-center Turkey. So Austria, you knew, wasn't going to betray Italy. Turkey had no reason to work with Riaz, because Riaz had sold out 100% against Russia. So, you wonder what Italy did to create this AIR against Turkey. The answer is Karthik didn't have to do anything, because Riaz did all the work for him.
It looks to me like Italy and France had an arrangement here, right? They were like, I tell you what, let's go stab our partners. We don't need to engage. They're both moving away from each other. Yeah, they've each got a fleet there as security, as insurance, but I wonder if this point was Italy and France racing.
Look what France did. France had a guaranteed way to take a dot from England this year. He convoys Picardy to Wales with support from Irish Sea, and then the fall English Channel cuts London. Irish supports Wales to Liverpool. And getting an army into Liverpool is how you kill England. France did not do this. France not only didn't do it, he moved away from England by moving Irish to Mayo. So France is looking at those 3 Italian fleets, the strong IT, and feeling a little bit insecure. And he opted to ally with the much weaker England against Germany, because doing that allowed him to bring back a unit and play some insurance against Italy. All right. Italy, on the other hand, is taking this turn and moving against Turkey. And I predict, and I haven't gone through and memorized these moves for a reason. I like to talk about the wisdom of certain moves. I would expect that this is going to pay off well for Italy, because France is going to turn around and go right back after England, because based on Russia moving away from Germany and that fleet move up into Helgoland Bight, Germany's going to come for revenge, and that unit in Ruhr is going to get popped, and France is going to feel much better about Germany as an ally and go right back after England now that he knows he doesn't have to worry about Italian fleets coming his way.
Well, at the moment, England is sitting in Belgium, so he obviously wants to prevent England from getting a build. So you think France is going to attack Belgium here?
Well, he'd definitely be able to do it, because London bounced Denmark out of North Sea.
Got Ruhr, Burgundy, Picardy, Channel. There
are not enough German units in place to help England keep Belgium, even if he wants to. So, but that's going to be part of it. I think that you will see France into Belgium, probably from Ruhr, although he might just use Ruhr to cut Holland instead. Okay.
Let's have a look.
All right. You're going to see France to Belgium. Boy, I'm just not right at all. So,
still with England and causing Germany issues, but failing to take anything.
The most interesting thing in this set of moves is with Italy sitting in a Turkish dot with an Italian army and 2 units to lend support as needed. Turkey made the decision to support Serbia into Budapest. He had no chance of taking Sev, zero chance of taking Sev. So he's definitely he's made the decision, I'm going to go down 1-4, and Italy is going to go up to 8. Because that always makes for a good alliance when your ally outnumbers you 2-1. No,
at least you're behind him. But what's the alternative here for Riaz?
Well, Riaz talked about his thought process and his decision-making tree very thoroughly in his AAR. And anyone who's interested should go onto Discord and read his AAR. He makes it very clear in his AAR, after Austria and Russia and Italy all banged him in Bulgaria, Turkey took a look at the rest of the board, said to himself and to Karthik, you are going to top this board. I am not going to rival you. All I'm going to do is I'm going to help you. I'm never going to build any fleets. I want to free you up to send all your fleets west so that you could get into the Mayo, get those southern French dots. All I ask for in return is that you help me get enough dots that I can get the buy for season 8. And Riaz says that very clearly in his AAR. Equally clearly, Karthik said, A, that makes sense. B, I have enough experience working with Riaz that I believe him and I trust him. And therefore, he went and did it. Okay. This game is over in fall 1903. And it's because of the superior diplomacy of Karthik and Riaz. Okay. Riaz got a good outcome in this game in the exact same way that Karthik got a good outcome in his preliminary round game with you when he was Turkey and you were Austria. Riaz did what Karthik did. He made himself useful. He painted a picture for Italy where A, he was useful to him. Now I'm going to get you into Budapest, right? And B, would continue to be useful to you the rest of the game. And C, would never be in a position to be a threat to Italy in any way, shape, or form, which is easy to accomplish by letting Italy continue to own Bulgaria and promising to never build a fleet, which we will see is exactly what goes on in this game. So France did not turn on England. France continued to fight Germany. France and Germany continuing to fight each other.
And this is key as well, isn't it? Because if France and Germany had got themselves back on the same page this term,
they could have slowed
maybe they can beat them.
Could have contained Italy. Yes, you're entirely correct. You're entirely correct.
Makes a change.
So this was a doubly good season for Italy diplomatically. He now has a very, very competent, capable vassal that he trusts, and also is good enough at the game that you'll be able to talk him into good moves. All right. And your only two possible rivals would rather fight each other than stop you. This is excellent, excellent news for Karthik. All right. What's next?
England doesn't build because he's lost Norway to Russia, who puts down an army in Warsaw, and one of each from Italy.
Well, that's the secret recipe for Italian success. That's the secret recipe for Italian success. Venice now can cover Tyrolia. If Germany and France were not talking about cooperating before, after they saw Turkey lose Bulgaria and turn around and support Italy into Budapest, it's a guarantee that France and Germany are going to sort out their differences now and start to cooperate. Why? Because they were good enough to make it into a semifinal game, so we know they're not stupid.
Italy's actually on 9, so they outnumber Turkey by more than 2-1.
Well, they outnumbered Turkey 2-1. Yes, it's now 9. It's now 9-4, going on 9-5. So, and France also has 5, and Germany has 6. If France and Germany do not create a concern, and they'd have to bring England on board. If France and Germany decided that they were going to turn around and try and stop Italy, Turkey now, and they didn't have England on board, England would play the same role that we usually see Turkey play at the end of the game.
Well, it depends how quickly you think you can kill England and get the dots and stick armies down the line.
Germany and France working together, if they wanted to ignore everything else, would take at least 3 years to kill England. So the only thing you can do with England at this point is say, hey, we're going to try and stop the leader. Your job is to go take Norway and go take St. Pete's. You do your job. We'll leave you alone. We have to get to the stalemate line. And I haven't looked ahead at that half of the board well enough to know if they're smart enough to do that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it fell apart somewhere. Germany's got to be very angry at France. England's got to be very angry at Germany. So we'll have to see. But that would be the right play here. But as far as the play for a board leader Italy with a Turkish vassal who's made a deal, as was described in their AAR, of I will help you top the board. You help me get enough dots that I advance to the bye next season. Italy and Turkey are playing this game.
Spring 1904 then, and Italy doesn't move on France.
Yeah, that's a real strong.
And in fact, Germany helps Italy take Vienna with that unwanted support.
I don't think that was help. I don't think that was help. I think that Germany wanted a friendly unit in Vienna, or wanted a friendly unit in Tyrolia.
Tyrolia, okay.
They didn't have the ability to stop Italy from taking Vienna anyway. So without supporting Vienna to Tyrolia, that unit would have just been popped.
Well, that's really clever from Karthik. Then that's nice.
Well, that's just board mechanics. All right, diplomacy players lie, the board doesn't lie. Okay. The only thing that Italy did here that's different than what I would have done is he uses Budapest to support Romania to Galicia. So he's all about racing up to the stalemate lines. He feels confident enough in his position. He can take dots later, because he could easily have taken Vienna right now. Taking it from Trieste, taking it from Budapest, sent Venice to Tyrolia anyway. But Tunis and Rome and Ionian, all to Gascony, that's just some virtue signaling. I like the prescience of it all, right? I like the prescience of it all. You look at those three lines. And it's very clear. 1, 2, 3. Karthik's putting a W right on the map. He's calling the win. He's Babe Ruth calling his shot. I like it. I like it. But when it's 1904 and you could already waste 3 units being cute, you're having a very good game.
Yeah. F and G back on together and going after England.
Well, F and G got back together. They took your path. How quickly can we eliminate England?
And they've got Russian help, by the looks of it. But England didn't know it was coming.
Well, Germany didn't know it was coming either. Oh wait, that was England that cut Norway. That's an English fleet in Skag, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Or was.
Germany's moving away from Russia, and they are attacking England. So France and Germany are doing what I said, which is, hey, let's try and get together and stop the leader. France had to make a decision what to do with Mayo. He made the decision to commit it to the front so that he could defeat England more quickly. And if he wasn't going to bring English Channel down to mid-Atlantic, then that was the right move to make, because if you send Mayo to the Italian front alone and don't send a backup unit, all you're doing is inviting Italy to come clobber you. So this is another example of the old English saying, diplomacy is the art of saying nice doggy until you find a large enough rock. So France here is hoping to pick up enough builds that he can drop them down and be able to hold off Italy. And he's certainly accomplishing that. Germany made the decision to let him have Belgium instead of insisting on he getting Belgium. Burgundy did come down to Marseille, and England walked into London. And
France.
England is not going to be able to take it back. So France is going to get 2 builds. So it makes it much less likely that it makes it much less likely that Italy is going to be able to blow through those southern French dots.
France needs to open up Marseille then for a build.
Yep. It does block Marseille for a build. It is a spring move. He could have sat in Burgundy and waited to see whether or not Italy went to Piedmont, and then he could have built a fleet in Marseille. He didn't do that. So
I like this. The IT moves here. Karthik making sure Riaz's armies, are in front of him, or at least alongside him. Doesn't want to get him out of the home center. Makes Riaz vulnerable, but then he's already living at Italy's will anyway. So I like this, making those Turkish armies useful.
He's got Serbia and Aegean both supporting Bulgaria. And since they're there and Turkey knows that he could support Bulgaria, it takes the possibility that Turkey might flip, and Bulgaria is almost a home center. So Turkey's desire to take Bulgaria back would make sense if someone went and did it. But Riaz has already made the decision. If I try and fight Italy, I'm going to die. But by keeping those units in Serbia and Aegean, Karthik has guaranteed that Turkey will stay on board because he has no chance of being successful. This is the opposite of what Karthik did in spring 1902 in the finals game, when he did not drop a unit into Budapest. If he had dropped a unit into Budapest, Russia would have known that he could not possibly help Turkey retake Bulgaria, and therefore he would have never tried. Karthik would have a much better position. He'd still own Bulgaria. He'd still have an AR. He'd still have a totally crippled Turkey in the corner. And it's interesting that Karthik did the safe moves in this game, but did not do the safe moves in the final game. So, all right. Let's see what Germany and Austria do with that Vienna situation now. I don't think it's going to be productive for them. I just think Italy's got them outnumbered.
Oh, not very productive at all. It gets blown up, but it does lend support to Marseille to Piedmont to clear Marseille with its dying breath.
Am I crazy? Does Munich actually support Vienna to Tyrolia? He does. So that's a little bit of clever there, trying to outguess, hoping that if he helps Vienna into Tyrolia, there's a chance that Vienna stays in Austrian hands, and then Austria gets to turn around and rebuild his army in Vienna. So that's fairly clever there. So England has now lost London, lost Belgium, lost North Sea. His lifespan is now measured in minutes.
Yeah, it's not great.
Marseille did come into Piedmont. Italy has sent all three of those units against France. Didn't order them to Gascony this time. So
no, they're on the move. They're on the move.
Right now, by making it into Piedmont, that's you're with those moves, you're going to see a fleet in Marseille. You're going to see a fleet in Brest. So let's get to that. Let's get. Oh, wait. Turkey has a build. Okay. And this is going to show how
could have had two, but chose to retreat Galicia forward into Silesia.
You're confusing me. Where could he have retreated Galicia to and gotten a second build?
Off the board.
Well,
if he wanted to keep the option open to be a pain in Karthik's arse.
Well, and honestly, if he'd done it, he would have only been doing it for dignity's sake. He was never going to overcome Karthik. As it stands, Khan and Smyrna are Turkey's dots at sufferance. Italy could take them almost at will. And if he had retreated Galicia so that he could rebuild it in a home center and then built also for Sev, then he could have had two units down there that could have been useful for the purpose of defense. But remember, if he does that, that's a good standalone game strategy. It's the don't get eliminated strategy, right? But if he does that, he blows up that IT. He blows up the only chance he has of getting enough points to get a bye next season. Because if he drops
which is top 21 places.
Yeah. If he drops back to Khan and Smyrna, Italy isn't going to help him get to 8. So a little bit of prom night for Riaz.
Look at this. With Vienna, Italy's up to 10.
Well, he is up to 10. We'll go ahead and go to winner. Okay, now scroll down so we can see supply center count. Okay. Italy is at 10. Turkey is at 5. France is at 7. Germany is at 6. Okay. So in a world of France, Germany versus Italy, Turkey has the advantage. France, Germany, Russia together only have parity. FGR has parity against IT, and they still have England in the background that they have to contend with. Okay. France does do the right builds. He builds a fleet in Marseille, builds a fleet in Brest. Right. But this game, in a lot of ways, is over. Italy is currently at 10 dots. This game ends in 1908 with 10 dots. And you will see in very short order The rest of this game is all about getting France and Germany and Turkey all enough dots that they get a bye for season 8.
Okay. Come to an arrangement, do they?
Which is an excellent diplomatic maneuver by Karthik. He's already won. He's already gotten his golden ticket to the finals. He's going to play everyone else against each other. He's got the only carrot and the only whip in the game, which is I can make sure you get a bye in season 8, or I can make sure you don't. And we'll scroll through this, okay? But there is no more effective tactical play on this board the rest of the game. It's France, Germany, Italy, Turkey, carving Russia and England out of the game and getting it done. Now, this game ends in 1908. This was the first game in the semifinal round to end. It's very obvious.
Was it this one or was it E? They were both quite early, weren't they?
I believe you're correct.
Mackrill's game was quite early.
I believe it was this one. But this game affected the diplomacy in every game that finished after it in the semifinal round. Because every player who was playing a game saying, you know what? I am not going to win. I'm not going to win. But as long as I do okay.
Let's scroll through.
Let's scroll through. So you see, look at Germany. Germany's fallen back to stalemate line positions. He's helping France hold. Russia's rolling around for the kill.
Yeah, this is
France is moving to his Italian front. These moves here pretty much just guaranteed that Italy's never going to break into the mail. All right, but
I wouldn't be very happy if I was Russia right now. It was 1905. Where are we on? 10-7-7-5. And there we go. Warsaw falls.
And notice, Warsaw went to Turkey. Warsaw didn't go to Italy. Okay. Karthik is keeping his promise to Riaz.
All Karthik needs is to finish one dot ahead of anybody else.
Well, yes, but no. Karthik was a class act here. He made promises. He kept promises. But he paid for those promises. He paid for those promises very badly.
In terms of seeding for the final.
Because of his seeding in the final round, he ended up in Austria. How's that going for you, Karthik?
Well, we've seen, how good a diplomat he is. Maybe he can do something for the awkward spot he's in, but don't like it. So France are up to 8 each now. It's hard to see anything else they might get. Maybe some Petersburg, but England's now dead and Russia's soon to follow.
Yeah. England's dead. Russia's going to be dead. Look at Germany. Germany's checked out. Germany's like, okay, this game's over. I'm done.
I'm expecting then Turkey to get Moscow and then some Pete.
France is checked out. France like, I'm done. Okay. Karthik didn't get attacked by anybody all game. All game he didn't get attacked, not one bit. Okay. This is the second semifinal game we followed. Ewok, who also made it to the final board, did not get attacked a single bit all game. So now we're 2 games out of 2. All right. I think this is a flaw with the current tournament structure. It takes otherwise competitive players and turns them into lackeys.
The desire to get the bye.
Well, look at France and Germany's play in this game, the rest of the game. They're like, okay, we're just going to hold the line and wait. Oh, you're already jumped up to 1908 because this game ends in 1908.
I mean, to be fair, there was very little they could do with Turkey never going to stab Italy.
From a pure,
I think they probably got about as good a result as they could have done from this. No.
Well, we'll never know because they didn't try. Because they were very smart, very intelligent, very capable players, and they played to the tournament structure they were in. They played to the scoring system they were in. They optimized their position based on the environment that they played in. There's nothing wrong with anybody's play here. The fault is in the environment. My personal opinion, which will probably be on the losing side of the argument if I know anything about my role in this hobby, is that the tournament structure needs to change. I think it
Yeah,
will.
I think certainly with the number of buys, I think is likely to be reduced.
Yeah. Well,
so like third place, aiming for third place won't be good enough, but going for it and then narrowly missing out and finishing second probably will be enough. So
the level of collusion here is more severe than you think. Okay. France and Germany, they're tied to each other. Okay. They cannot fight each other because if they do, Italy can solo this game. They have to stay working together the rest of this game. Okay. But they're bulletproof. They are bulletproof. Ruhr supports Munich. Munich is locked up. Burgundy supports Silesia. It is locked up. Okay. Even if Italy and Turkey get up into Prussia, you simply fall Silesia back to Berlin, Berlin back to Kiel, Kiel and Baltic supports Berlin hold. The line is held. Turkey's 8th dot is St. Petersburg. Sweden to Finland keeps Turkey from ever making any progress there until you bring Edinburgh up into Barents and bring Liverpool over to Bothnia. Okay. The time limit of this game might have made it not matter. Turkey might have been able to hold out, but anyone who knows stalemate line knows that St. Petersburg belongs to the West. France and Germany had no reason whatsoever to let Turkey keep that dot. Turkey, by playing Janissary to Italy, basically out the gate, destroyed France's and Germany's ability to have any competitive chance in this game. And they rewarded Riaz for playing that way by laying up and letting him keep that 8th dot. They could have taken it. And I need to go through the numbers and check, but I'm pretty sure that if Riaz had not kept St. Petersburg, he would not have had enough points to get a bye in season 8. And Germany and France had no reason, based on what's on this board, to reward Turkey's play by letting him keep that dot.
But then I suppose the counter then is that Turkey can throw more dots to Italy.
That's the only lever he's got. That's the only lever.
All right. Well, if you're not letting me, then why should I let you? That's probably can't throw a solo, but if I can't, but
let's view that through Eric Grinnell colored glasses. My response is, I'm going to get through the preliminary round next season anyway. I don't need a bye to make it to the semifinals. I'm going to make it to the semifinals anyway. F you. I'm taking that shit.
Yeah, Grinnell, I remember from game A.
But this. I can say this. I am a better player. I am a better person. If I were France and Germany, I still would not be happy with the way this game got played. I would not be happy. I'd not be happy with myself because my fighting between France and Germany for too long created a scenario where we were never going to check Italy and put them back in the box. So I'd be angry at myself. I'm pretty good at describing when I play poorly. I know when I play poorly. I can tell you exactly how and where I did it and when. And I'd be willing to do that. But I'd also be perfectly happy to fault Turkey for what he did in this game that took away any chance I ever had, which is what went down in this game. Riaz played it perfectly. Riaz played his tournament structure. Riaz played his scoring system. He knew exactly what he needed to get what he wanted out of the game. Once it became obvious that he was not going to be able to top this board, he made himself useful to get what he wanted. He played it exactly right. However, he relied on the ability to keep St. Petersburg to keep that, which took away the control. He should have been negotiating with Italy for a different eighth dot, like getting Bulgaria back or something, because Italy and Turkey had no way to guarantee that Turkey would keep that eighth dot.
And this was, yeah, as you say, the first game to finish. So, I mean, they probably expected that 8, maybe 7 would be enough, but they weren't to know that. But I tell you what, for those in games that went on longer and later, a 3-way tie for second on 8 dots was food for thought, I think, for some of the other boards.
The three-way tie at 8 dots in game B completely controlled the diplomacy in the outcome of our game A. Because neither one of us was willing to go for it and take the chance that if we fell a little bit short, we'd at least have enough dots to get the bye. Because we knew we weren't going to get a bye because of what these guys pulled in game B. So the outcome of game B affected the diplomacy of every other game in the semifinals round. Every other game.
So this really was a diplomatic rather than tactical victory for Karthik. And
I don't know that you can say that. I believe his tactics were flawless. We can't assess his strategy. This game was so Mickey Mouse, there was no strategy to be had. But no, Karthik's tactics were flawless. And you can't say they were irrelevant, because him stabbing Turkey at just the right time was the foundation of this entire alliance. So no. Karthik played this game perfectly. As a matter of fact, this is the most executed game within its own context that I have ever seen delivered. Karthik, good job, sir. Okay? However, keeping your promises came at a cost. And that cost was your low seeding and the country selection and your current position in the final game. So next time, I'll be very curious to see if Karthik plays a little bit more selfishly.
We'll see. Well, I think from what we've seen from Karthik, he does have the ability to turn, positions around and to make himself useful to people. Difficult when you're Austria surrounded, but we'll see, how he deals with this situation.
Well, so is that another bet? You and I got another bet, whether or not Karthik turns it around.
I'm losing you. I'm losing you.
Hey, most important question of this entire broadcast, Chris. What happened to your other plant drawing? You used to have 2.
I think it's just my angle. There we go.
It's behind your big melon. Got you.
All right, it was just my head. Yeah, it's just my head in the way.
All right. Hey, Karthik, excellent game. Excellent game. Riaz, excellent game. When you can't win, you chose the option of make yourself useful, and it has paid off for you in spades. The good news is you get to be tournament director again next season in the prelim rounds. Aren't you happy? And Andre and Germany, you both ultimately made the same exact decision that Riaz did, and you deserve to be rewarded for that. Okay. You did what you could. If you guys had maybe stopped fighting against each other sooner, you could have gotten a different outcome. But it's perfectly understandable with the board the way it was why you didn't do that. When just one more build can change everything for you, to not chase that build is very, very hard. And I understand why you didn't do it. But this was an excellently played game by everybody. The only countries that didn't have good outcomes, their bad outcomes had nothing to do with their poor play. It had everything to do with the diplomatic schema selecting against them. Nobody in this game made any really terrible mistakes. I think everyone on this board played very, very well.
Yeah, high praise from Eric then, guys.
Hey, y'all can read a map. Congratulations.
You're just trolling me now. Yeah. Right, that just about wraps things up. So, yeah, that's the second of the 7 semi-finals that our finalists top to make it this far. Any final thoughts?
I'm just going to say cheers.
Thanks, guys.